We're All Doomed, written by Real Nectarine 7986. Galactic Supreme Court, ongoing trial. Magister Trixion, you are accused of treason of the highest order. How do you plead? The first judge declared. Not guilty. In order to prevent our complete and utter destruction, I did what had to be done, Trixon stated. At the time, we had no other options. The hordes of the invading coalition were unstoppable. You all know that. If I hadn't done what I had done, none of us would be here right now. No magic or technology or ancient device could have saved us. Murmurs were heard throughout the great hall as the thousands of members in the jury either quietly conversed with the neighbors about the agreement or disagreement with Trixon's statements. Well, it is undisputed that we would not have won the war without the humans. Giving them the extra was, the second judge began. Absolutely necessary, Trixon interrupted him. For the sake of all individualistic sentient life in the galaxy, it was absolutely necessary. X-Drive. It was probably the most important invention for the galaxy. Comparable importance to the invention of the wheel, printing press, or beer for humanity, depending on who you ask. A device that combined both magical ether reactors, technical aspects beyond what anyone can comprehend, and a mind-probing device. It allows the user to physically create any object of any size, as long as they understand every single aspect of the object, from the physical appearance to the programming and other technical aspects. Using a human example, if one has a clear picture of an object, say a mobile phone, you can create the phone. However, it will not have any functionality. It'll just be the phone. If, however, you knew how it operated, what components there were, etc., then you could theoretically create a working mobile phone. Thus, theoretically, it would be possible to create literally anything as long as the knowledge of every single functionality of the object is known. In the thousands of years since its inception, the X-Drive has undergone sporadic improvements, primarily to its adaptability for use by different species. Trixon allowed himself a small smile as he heard the muttering discussions whispering through the hall. Then, Magister, will kindly explain what in the name of all the holy is going on right outside of our viewport? The first judge roared in undulated fury, indicating to the massive space battle going on right outside their space station. And the humans, the first thing they did with the X-Drive they were given was for some lazy scholar in the field of biotechnology and cybernetics to create a device that interfaces with the human brain and allows for the uploading and downloading of information directly into the human's memory. Immediately after creating a device that automatically cooks him some drink known as coffee without having to ask for it. Next, the same individual somehow got his hands on the schematics of the X-Drive, mass-produced both them and his so-called cyber interface for humanity. The results were equally amusing as they were worrying. You see, the current generation of humans harken back to their ancient days, back when they could only dream of spaceflight, and took inspiration from the sci-fi spacecraft they envisioned back then to combat the swarm that threatened the galaxy. And with the help of state-of-the-art AI, they managed to recreate each and every one of those spacefaring vessels. Within a year of receiving the X-Drive, humanity launched its first fleet to engage the invaders in active combat. The first fleet of many. The first to be officially labeled as a bullshit fleet. After all, who in their right mind would combine the Mark I Death Star from Star Wars with the mothership from Independence Day, supported by Imperial battleships from the Warhammer 40k universe, Daedalus-class battlecruisers from Stargate, and Enterprise-class ships from Star Trek, just to name a few. Not to mention the plethora of smaller ships that accompanied them, and all of this just being the first fleet to be launched. Each subsequent fleet was more outlandish, with the only factions from Warhammer not being implemented being the Orcs, because not even the latest AI can make those rocks function, and the Tyranids, for obvious reasons, and the Dark Elder, because they were apparently too twisted to work. Heck, there was even an entire fleet of stealth frigates, comprising over 50 SSV Normandy 1s and 2s. Anyway, it did not take long for the invading coalition to be thrown back, and the majority of lost space to be taken. And then, the humans, as they say, did what they do best, and turned their fleets into quantum VR-controlled entities and began fighting each other as though it was the latest edition of Battlefield Space Edition genre. Trixon turned to look before giving an answer. That is just humans turning their fighting prowess inwards instead of targeting us. Would you rather they fight us instead? He asked, as they saw the Death Star obliterate another Death Star with a super laser, whilst an Independence Day mothership destroyed a squadron of battle cruisers that were trying to ram it. Let them have their fun. It's quite a spectacle, isn't it? Has the insanity of humanity gotten and rotten your brains? The first judge asked. Better insane than stupid. I'm more surprised that none of you see the value in having them as friends. I mean, they are willing to put up a show for you, and, Oh, come on, Black Team, don't lose to the Reds! Trixon suddenly shouted out as the flank of the one side began buckling. Can we concentrate on what is going on, please? The head judge shouted, striking his gavel. I am concentrating. I just have higher priorities right now, Trixon said, lifting the stain to his lips, such as drinking this free beer and watching the casual game played by human teenagers. End of story. Story number 2. Unbroken, written by OG Grunt.com. Will you tell us Terra's jump coordinates now? The bright blue bulbous creature gurgled into its translator. Its gelatinous form shifted constantly, as if it struggled to maintain a consistent shape. Another creature entered the room, smaller and more refined in posture. It managed to maintain a bipedal appearance more effectively than the larger, older one. Opposite them, separated by a pane of reinforced translucent material, a man hung suspended. His feet hovered a foot above the floor, ankles shackled in metal clamps stained with blood, sweat, and strips of torn skin. His body was a tapestry of bruises and lacerations, muscles strained to their breaking point, arms outstretched and similarly bound. He hung limp, his head bowed. A disheveled beard and long matted hair were obscuring his face. Then slowly the man lifted his head. Sweat, spit, and blood dripped from his mouth and nose. I am Lieutenant Willow, service identification number 134978, born August 2nd, 2390. His head slumped again. Again, the blue creature said, gesturing with one of its limb-like appendages. With a few button presses, the room filled with agonizing screams. Willow's body convulsed in the restraints, the metal groaning with the strain. I am he roared. You are alone, Lieutenant. Why don't you understand that? The creature mocked. Willow forced his jaw shut, turning his screams into grunts, pain shaking his frame. He locked his eyes with the creature, tears mixing with mucus and sweat. Stop, the creature sighed. Willow sagged like a sack of flesh. After a moment, he spat blood onto the floor. You all say the same damn thing, the creature said, over and over again. Honestly impressive. You've lasted 2 cycles longer than the last one. A button was pressed. A screen appeared before Willow, showing a rotating slideshow of his team, each tortured, each dead, each in their own horrific cell. There is no point in continuing this. You will die. I am second Another creature entered and spoke quickly with the blue one, the translator barely picking up the discussions. Jump, Delta Sector. They both turned back to Willow. We've scanned your body. You're naked. No beacon, no augments. Is there another way Terra could track you? Willow looked up, and in his broken expression, something flickered. Something the torture had nearly smothered. Hope. I am Lieutenant Willow. Service He convulsed violently as the machine reactivated. Tell me, Lieutenant, where is your tracker? Then, alert, alert, Terran warship jump signatures detected. Alert, alert. The monotone voice filled the station. Red lights flared. The machine was quickly shut off. Panic broke out as several creatures bolted from the room. Who is coming, Commander? Tell me. Feck you. I am Second Lieutenant Willow. The machine came alive again. The blue creature slammed its appendage against the console. Alert, alert. Terran fleet trajectory, 95% likelihood, the station. All pilots to ready stations. All hands to battle stations. Why would they come? The creature shrieked. Why for you, a single junior officer? A nameless cog in a Terran machine. Willow looked up, blood on his lips, fire in his eyes. Because you touched the wrong cog, Chikak Maroon. How did you know? The alien's form started to shift more aggressively, showing fear and sudden dread. The station shook. Plasma cannon fired, missiles launched, PDCs roared in the distant corridors. I am Commander Willow, he growled, of the Red Spear of Terror. The machine fell silent. The red... Oh, gods. It was a mistake, I didn't... The station rocked again, alarm screamed. Lights turned deep crimson, power failed, and the restraint machine hissed as it released. Willow fell. The thud was sickening. The blue creature stared as he lay crumpled, still breathing. Guards! Guards! It screamed into the communicator, only to hear gunfire. Alert! Alert! Station hull breached. Intruders detected on isolation dock, level 3. Another impact flung the creature to the floor. Only 2 staff members remained. The main power died, leaving only backup lights and pulsing red strobes. The creature staggered to the translucent wall. Darkness. A red smear trickled down. Then Willow, pressed against the glass, eyes burning. Jakuk Maroon, he breathed. Muffled gunfire and death crept ever closer. He turned towards the once locked door, now open. In a pulse of red, he vanished. The creature spun to the console operator, unconscious. A green light blinked above the panel. The cell had been unlocked. Screeched gurgles, then banging. The creature turned. Willow stood behind the staffer, smashing its head into the console. Over and over. Blue fluid and membrane splattered the glass. Willow dropped the corpse, the rest of the staff draining itself onto the metallic floor below. In another flash of red light, more human silhouettes appeared before him. They were armored and geared for war, but perfectly still. The blue creature flinched, shrinking back. Alert! Alert! Distress signal disrupted. Bridge doors breached. All hands report to bridge. Alert! Alert! It whimpered. Willow stared, unmoved. Mercy, he asked, voice a rasp of fire and gravel. You didn't show Jackson, Mercy, or Stevens, or Brittany Williams. He took a blade from the soldier's chest rig. Step by step, he approached. Behind him, the red spear advanced, silent, armored wraiths sweeping through the station. No words, no orders, just thunder and steel. Willow raised the blade. I am Commander Willow of the Red Spear. Identification number 134978. And I will avenge my fellow man. A final pulse of red, a raised blade, then silence. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.